Coming up, it's a bittersweet moment in time, and for that matter, a bittersweet show for me. The time has come for me to say farewell to you. But before I go, we look back at our humble beginnings, our trials and triumphs, and we look forward to a farewell which ends on a historical note. The 30th year Aware Show with Dee Dee Sharp starts right now.
This original WSRE presentation is made possible by viewers like you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dee Dee Sharp, and welcome to my farewell show as your Aware Show host. I end on a celebratory note. The Aware Show with Dee Dee Sharp makes history for Black History Month, becoming the longest running African American created, produced, and hosted show to run on WSRE TV PBS for the Gulf Coast. And that is something I'll take with me. It's simply priceless. I'm the original host, and the turn of 2020, the new year, allowed me to celebrate 30 years on air with you. And for that, I am most grateful to you and to Pensacola State for this opportunity to mark 30 years and to celebrate Black History Month by being a part of the very history we talk about here on our show. I'll admit this is very difficult, one of the most difficult, in fact, I'll say the most difficult show I've ever had to do. And truth be told, I've never been good at saying goodbye. In fact, friends who know me well say that I will usually leave them on the phone and say, I'll talk to you later, or so long. Nevertheless, this is my final show here as host of The Aware Show, and I wanted an opportunity to give you some behind-the-scenes information about not just me as host of the show, but for others who have sat here in this chair in the past. Plus, I've also wanted to give you some background and history about the show. That includes talking with the executive producer and bringing back some familiar faces here in the Pensacola area. To do this, we have prepared a 2-hour farewell special. Also, throughout our 30-year historical farewell show, we want to thank you and all of our friends of Aware who have supported us through the years and give them a chance to update you on where they are now and where they're headed next. And lastly, I'll do likewise. What's next for me as I get set to exit stage left for this show and start looking for another one? To start, we begin how it all began for us. You'll get a deep appreciation for our origin, our mission, our goals, and you'll see how we evolved over 3 decades into the historical award-winning program you see today. For this, we began with the executive producer, Dr. Gail Frazer, retired institutional diversity vice president, Pensacola State College. She's not only been the producer of this show, but she's been a great boss and a very dear friend to me, both on and off the Aware Show. We want to welcome her now. I'm waiting for her to pop up on the air. She's standing by where she sits by during every single show for 30 years. Dr. Gail Frazier.
Hey, Dee Dee.
Hey. I know this is sort of, I told you as I was planning this, it's sort of like a funeral, but it's also a celebration, Dr. Frazier, and it's because of you. You gave me a great opportunity to do this show 30 years ago as I sit here getting ready to leave, but I want you to give us some background. How did all of this get started? Aware?
Well, Dee Dee, as you know, 30 years ago, we decided to do a community affairs program that would give an opportunity for us to look at the various minority communities in Escambia County and Pensacola and Santa Rosa County. Not just for minorities, but we also wanted to give a voice to the underrepresented, to those folks who have been marginalized, for our elderly, our veterans, and individuals who are economically challenged and who were poor. So we want to make sure that oftentimes these individuals are not really highlighted in mainstream media, so we wanted to make sure that this show represented all those groups who are marginalized and who are not often given a voice. So that was the purpose of Aware. And how I met you was serendipitous. It was purely by accident. I advertised to have a talk show person, host a show, and we published this in the newspapers and local media. We had 35 people who answered the ad, and of the 35 people, we narrowed it down to 15, and from the 15 people, we were going to audition 7. And you were one of those individuals, and I always say you end up being one of my greatest hires because you've been with me 30 years. And as you know, when we started off the show, we had William Jackson and you co-hosting, and later on when William left, Carlos Beck from WEAR-TV also co-hosted for a short time. And then after Carlos I think Carlos went to Atlanta, then you became our host. So it was about, maybe you've been hosting for about 27 years of completely by yourself of the 30 years. And I always tell people you turned out to be one of my greatest hires.
Oftentimes flying, driving, doing whatever I had to do to get here.
Yes.
But it's been absolutely a joy for me. And before I let you go, we're going to come back to you a little later in the show, but we want to get to some of the phone calls that are standing by for us. Just want to say this. We had a very special guest early on in the program named Greg Calhoun.
Yes.
Greg was on the show, and he did the program called Bags to Riches. This is one of our original guests, and he told us of his success story where he inspired so many other African Americans to step out on faith and make an investment in their own businesses, to just go into business for themselves. He spoke from experience after having bagged groceries at a local grocery store in Montgomery, Alabama, and then he told us how he saved money and even mortgaged his home to buy his first store and ended up owning a chain of them called Calhoun Foods.
The very same grocery store that he worked in.
Absolutely, which was absolutely amazing. And it was one of those things where you talk about serendipitous. Dr. Frazier, you know that Greg Calhoun helped launch my career as a news anchor and a reporter in Montgomery, Alabama. And for that, I'm grateful. And the reason why I'm bringing him up with you is, again, that was some of our humble beginnings. And Mr. Calhoun, we had asked him to come and be a guest of our show last year, and discovered that he died before he was to come to the show. So I still wanted to just pay homage to him and thank him. And we're going to be doing some memorials throughout the show. And I want to get an opportunity to just love on you. And I know you're not, y'all put her up on the camera again, Mike. Mike's our director back there. She doesn't like to be on the air, but I just want to say this has been the force behind AWARE and so many other movements here in Pensacola. You would be surprised to know that she's been the person behind the scenes, but very much the person who has been an activator of so many great things for Pensacola, Florida. Dr. Frazier, I know I'll get a chance to say thank you to you much later, but I just wanted you to put her up because she doesn't like to be on TV.
One last thing I'll say before we go is that for me and for you, Dee Dee, AWARE has been a labor of love, and I've enjoyed all 30 years, so thank you for being such a great host.
All right, thanks again, Dr. Frazier. We're going to get a chance to talk with you a little bit more within the 2-hour finale show, but we're glad you're there for us, as always. And as Dr. Frazier just mentioned, one of the original co-hosts was a well-known, popular, familiar face, on-air personality, and deep friend of mine, William Jackson, former sports director at WEAR, ABC3, right here in Pensacola. So where is he now? Well, he's standing by on the telephone to talk with us, and we're so grateful that he's here. I'm so excited. Hey, William.
Hey, Dee Dee, how are you?
I'm
Good
fine,
hearing the
my
voice.
friend.
Look, you brought back some memories just listening to that.
I know everybody knows you, William. I could just be quiet and let you just take over from here. Just hearing your voice, everybody knows
that's
William
crazy.
Jackson.
Oh, no, you know what? I had a great 5 years in Pensacola, and I can say to this day, I moved all over the country, but I had more visitors when I lived in Pensacola than anywhere else I've ever lived, right?
Right.
So definitely, whenever I can get back there, I still have daughter and son-in-law and some grandkids there. So, I still try to get back on occasion, definitely.
Oh, that's awesome, awesome. Well, we know that you started off the program with me, and you don't know this, but I leaned on you heavily because I did not have the television experience that you brought to AWARE.
But you know what? And in all honesty, you would never know it because you had so much composure, and we just had a natural vibe going that it just flowed naturally for me. So I didn't know that. That is a surprise. Big time.
Well,
big time.
you were just that guy. You're that guy who's just full of personality, and everywhere you go, people just sponge to you. They just want to be a part of who you are. And I know that you've done that wherever you've gone. and you've gone quite a few places. Just give us a quick synopsis about where you've been since you left here and where you are now.
Okay, so I left there 1991 and went to Birmingham, Alabama. Birmingham was interesting for a couple of reasons. My folks are originally from there, so I spent 3 years there as a weekend sportscaster at WBTM. That was Channel 13 of NBC. And the beautiful thing about it, Dee Dee, was my 100-year-old grandmother got a chance to see me on television, right?
Wow.
So when I would take her to her doctor's appointments, that was the real gratification, because growing up in Birmingham and going through and seeing everything that she had an opportunity to see her grandson on television, I think she got more of a kick out of it than I did, right? But Birmingham was great because we covered Auburn, Alabama. I had a chance to go to the White House when Alabama won the national championship in the early 90s, and that was really, really a nice situation. Now, the other big highlight in Birmingham, that was the 1 year after I left Pensacola where Michael Jordan played his only year of baseball, minor league baseball. So I got a chance to hang out with Mike probably the whole summer. In fact, Hard Copy did a story on us because I was the closest media person to Mike. But I didn't give them any juicy stuff, so they didn't run any of the interviews. So I called them and said, "Man, I was in the sun for an hour." So they sent me about $500 and gave me some.
Well,
hard
did you
copy
get
hats,
any
so I gave
tennis
it to the
shoes from him?
photographers.
Did you get any tennis shoes from
No, I
him?
should have. You know what? Hey, Dee Dee, here, the funny part was he and I would meet up like at the club, right?
Yes.
And I'd interview him after the game, and he said, "So what's going on tonight?" And I said, "Well, I think I'm going to this club called AJ's, Alonzo Highsmith, another former NFL player. He owned it in Birmingham." And he said, "Yeah, I think I'm going to go home and play cards with the guys," because he was known for doing that. So I'd be at the bar at about 7:30, and someone put me in a headlock, and I promise you it'd be Michael Jordan. So we'd go sit in his little area, and Mike had maybe 4 bodyguards who were there, but they were so incognito you'd never know it, right? And one of them came over and said, so we'd sit there, and after about 40 minutes, everyone's called their friends and say, "Hey, Mike Jordan's in here." So by that time, it's getting crowded. So I'd say, "Mike, I'll talk to you later, go on the other side of the room." And then one of his bodyguards would come over maybe 5 minutes later and say, "Hey, Mike has a question." And that my thing, I just didn't want to sweat Mike, right? I wanted to give him his space. Then I'd go over there and sit for another hour, and then I'd go home. But that was my way of saying, hey, you need your space, and then I kind of left it up. And he was really, really cool. But Mike, he really looked into the soul of people, and if you approached him a certain kind of way, you'd get a certain kind of reaction. But if you were just genuine, kind of cool, then he'd be the same. So that was the highlight of Birmingham.
So you met your twin.
Birmingham. Huh?
You met your twin.
What's that? Oh no! Look, I wish I had some of his twin money.
I know that's right. So you left Birmingham and you ended up in some other great places.
So then I left Birmingham and went and interviewed in Kansas City. Go Chiefs too! Super Bowl next week. But went to Kansas City and they interviewed me for the 10 o'clock anchor position, 10 o'clock at night. When I got there, and after I interviewed, they called me back and they said, "We want you to be our sports director and do the 5, 6, and 10, right?"
Yes.
Which was tremendous. So I went there, spent 10 great years in Kansas City, and that was really a chance where I got a chance to express myself, do my thing. I had a show with Marcus Allen, #1 rated show in the market. When Marcus Allen retired, Tony Gonzalez and Donnie Edwards took over, and it remained #1. Donnie ended up going to the Chargers, and Tony stayed in Kansas City until he went to came here to Atlanta. And but it was #1 rated from its inception until we left. It was #1 ranked in the market, and it did extremely well. Then
I'm not surprised.
Did another Chief show.
I'm not surprised. I'm not. So you're in Atlanta? You're in Atlanta now, in William?
So I left there, went to Chicago for a while. I was at Chicago local station for 5 years. Then I worked for the Bears and hosted a couple of shows for them and Lovie Smith when he was fired. Then we moved to Atlanta, and the big deal there, so I'm semi-retired. But the big reason we moved here, my wife, who's an executive with Kraft Foods, Tracy Nolan Jackson, she wrote an animated movie. So we said, okay, if we're going to do this thing, let's go to the place where it happens, right?
Good.
So we moved to Atlanta, and that's where we are now. And, the name of it is Black Butterfly in a Colorful World. And we have John Amos is affiliated with it. He's one of the characters. And we're really looking for that. Still working on the funding for the pilot. We've already done the voiceover work. So Atlanta's just a hot spot for that. So I'm kind of semi-retired from the media, looking to get back in and do some things, kind of going from there. But it's been a good ride, though.
It's been a great ride, and it's been great talking with you too, William. I absolutely love you and adore you. Thank you so much for being a part of my life, and thank you for calling in and sharing, with us here on Aware.
Oh, yeah, when you put out the word to call and I knew you were involved, I had to do it. I had to make a way. So that will definitely work, and I appreciate it. And tell Dr. Frazier and everybody I said hi and love you all. And it's a beautiful thing.
All right, William. Love you much. Talk later.
We'll see you.
We'll catch up later.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right. William Jackson, once again, want to wish him the best as always. Also, we had a host from WEAR, ABC 3, and she's been standing by on the line. We want to get straight to her, and her name is Celeste Evans. And sorry to keep you holding, but William is William, and you know that. Celeste, welcome.
Hey.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well. What about you?
I'm doing okay too, girlfriend. So glad to have you with us. You filled in for me and you did an awesome job. And if ever I had to have somebody to do that, it had to be you. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. That's very sweet of you. I was always glad to do it.
Yeah, thank you so much. So where are you now? We know that you were a big personality here in Pensacola on WEAR Channel 3, but what have you been up to lately? And we know that you've been back for some of our book clubs, too. So what are you doing?
Yes. Right now, I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina. I am the director of theater at St. Augustine's University. So I've been here for about 10 years now.
Wow. And so, and so what are you doing now? Are you still in television? What are you up to?
No, I'm in theater. I teach theater. So I'm an associate professor of theater at the university, and right now we are rehearsing for a play called 12 Angry Jurors, and we're doing this play in conjunction with one of the professional theater companies here in Raleigh. So that'll be in April, but right now we're in the beginning process of our rehearsal process.
Mm-hmm. So now, I would not have ever thought that with such a beautiful voice and in your presentation on air as a news anchor, news reporter, and anything involved in commercial television that you would have ended up in theater. But I guess that's a good natural progression.
Well, actually, theater is my first love.
Okay. Very
theater
good.
is my first love. So I'm directing plays, I'm writing plays, and performing in plays, while also teaching.
I see, and making your mark on young students who aspire to be in theater and on broadcasting careers. Well, that's absolutely wonderful. What can we expect from you in the near future, other than what you're working on now?
Well, every now and then I think about coming home to Florida. I'm not a spring chicken anymore. And thinking about coming home to Florida and doing some more writing. While here, I established a reader's theater troupe, and my students perform all over the city and Washington, D.C., and I'll be doing a little more of that kind of thing. So theater is really the thing that I love, the thing that I've always loved, and that's about it.
Well, that's enough.
I will tell you. Go ahead.
No, you tell me what?
No, I will tell you that I just really enjoyed my time at the Aware show. Right. And it's been a wonderful run, and I'm just so proud of you and Dr. Gail Frazier and the entire team for just doing a wonderful job and just helping the community by bringing them up to date with issues of importance.
Well, thank you so much, Celeste, for joining us tonight. And thank you for being not just a backup, but a very integral part of this program. I appreciate you. I respect you for what you do professionally and for the friend you are personally. I wish you the best. God bless. Love
Thank you. God bless you too.
All right. Well, now for more than 30 years on television and in radio, I've used the name Dee Dee Sharp on the air, and I've tried my best to live up to the name and the idea of being sharp from head to toe. Now here's some fun outtakes of that. Take a look and a listen through the decades. All right, joke's on me. That was funny going back down memory lane. Well, along the way, one of my first interviews and reports about a house on Bayland Street here in Pensacola, Florida, was where an African-American woman by the name of Celestine Lewis was working to make it a home for foster kids. And now, more than 25 years later, Lewis has touched thousands of children's lives and even created a school, the Jacqueline Harris Academy. Ms. Lewis couldn't be here with us, but she's here in spirit, and here in her place is Pat Dixon to bring us up to date with everything. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Celestine has had a special place in my heart. As I told you in the green room, I was coming off the heels of just a few years after of having been a wayward teen myself, and could have used a woman of wisdom and love that I felt from her when she sat on my set and I had an opportunity to do an interview with her. Our best goes out to her. We understand that she has recently lost her husband.
Yes,
Our
she
prayers
has.
are with her. And so you are here.
Yes.
And so still want to have an opportunity to just thank her, and thank you for being here, but thank her for being one of my first and for being so special, near and dear to my heart. What's going on now with the school? Tell us more about Celestine Lewis.
As you know, she started Pensacola Family Care for Youth, which was a home for foster children to keep siblings together. Well, she's continued to keep siblings together. She's opened up Jacqueline Harris Preparatory Academy, which is an elementary school from pre-K through 5th grade. So she's continued to educate many students in Escambia County.
Mm-hmm. And I say thousands, even if she didn't have her hands on them, she reached them.
Yes, she
with
did.
the love that she has
Yes,
for
she
children.
did.
And it's almost like it's a gift that she
Yes.
has to do this.
Only Miss Lewis has that special gift. She can reach the littlest to the largest. She continues to educate the children. It's not just your regular elementary school. It's a school where they teach character, education, as well as the curriculum, core curriculum, but manners. To say yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. To talk in a complete sentence. She continued to educate students today.
She inspires a child to be their best self because she understands how important it is for them to have esteem, self-esteem.
Yes, and her motto is dare to dream. To all the students, dare to dream. You can be whatever you dream. There's no limits.
And I know that with what she's done, some of those very kids that have come through her hands and her school and her home have gone on to do some great things.
Yes, we have doctors, lawyers, professional basketball players, football players, many careers of students that have come through Jacqueline Harris Preparatory Academy.
Okay, I'm not going to hurry or just keep you here forever. I just want to say to you, and please say to her on behalf of AWARE, we thank her for what she's doing and what she's done for all of our children here in the Pensacola area. Keep up the good work. We love you and we love her.
Thank you, Dee Dee. Thank you for the AWARE show, and much success to you in your future endeavors.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Pat.
you.
All right. We wish her, of course, and as I mentioned, Miss Lewis, the best for touching so many children's lives. Now, our producer, Dr. Gail Frazer, and I have always worked with local community activists to bring you informed issues and make you aware of the things that impact you, from civil rights roundtables and forums to in-depth one-on-one discussions with local activists. Well, today we look back at our history by looking forward to local movements and bringing you up to date with the work that's being done to advance civil rights for all. We're joined here in the studio now for a look at that with some civil rights icons, I call them, Reverend H.K. Matthews and Jerry McIntosh, president of Movement for Change and the host of Our Voices. Thank you so much for being here. I just feel like I'm just flanked by power on the Aware Show. You said I am. We'll start with, I should start with Jerry, because Jerry's like me. I give you the chair just like me, but I got to start with HK because HK is the icon. You're the myth. You're the legend. So many people look up to you, HK, for the things that you've done. We're grateful that you've been a part of the Aware Show through the years to just help us keep the community informed about issues that mattered, especially when it came to civil rights and just doing things that help keep us informed and aware and educated about what we need to do, right down to casting our vote. It was because of you and the work that you've done and being here on the Aware Show. Where are you headed next? Because you're always going somewhere and doing something. Your feet do not grow grass up under them.
No, Papa's a rolling stone. And where he plants his foot is his home.
Amen.
But Dee Dee, I guess I'm glad to be here. But this is the most difficult show, I think, down through the years that I've been on. Simply because of your departure. It's a little heart-wrenching. But as you know, my background is basically civil rights and human rights. And it has been my thrust, my hope, out of all of these years since 1959 or 1960 to press forward with the agenda for equality for all of God's children, irregardless of their race, color, or creed. However, it just so happened that we as African Americans were the ones who were being left behind. And my job, and of course they called me when I was here, was being an agitator. And I always, I kind of cherish that title because if you've ever seen one of those old-fashioned washing machines and that thing in the middle that spins around, well, that's an agitator and it spins the dirt out. Mm-hmm. And I would like to think that that's been my job.
Mm-hmm. And you've done it well.
and at this point in my life, it soon will be 92, I don't see any reason to stop doing what I've been doing all these years. The passion is still there, and the problem is still there. Mm-hmm. And the doctor is still there. So my purpose in life, and I think this is what God ordained me to do, is to work toward making sure that all of his children were treated equally and treated with respect. And again, I just want to thank you because I've been on this show down through the years.
Yes, you have.
Many times, even though I got lost trying to get here tonight, as many times I've been. But
that's your young age.
Oh yeah, that's what it is. And I do take Gin Coble pills for my memory, but then I forget to take them. It's been a joy working with you and Dr. Frazier, and I certainly want you to know how much I appreciate the contributions that you both have made, and of course I thank you for thinking enough of me to call me and ask me to be a part of this.
Yes. I couldn't do it without you. And how fitting that we're celebrating Black History Month with Aware, 30 years Black History here in Pensacola for WSRE, PBS for the Gulf Coast, but also with you and with Jerry because of the work that you all do on the front lines for African Americans, as you mentioned, for all children of God. And so Jerry, with that, I just want to turn to you because I could call you on the phone and I could say, Jerry, just like Jerry and your wife.
Right.
We need you for Aware because we need to talk about this, this, and that, and you're always there for us.
Right, but let me say, hey, you're going to really be missed because we love you here, and the work you've done is an example and expression of what Black history is really all about. So, I'm hating that you're not going to be, but I know you're going to do bigger and better things because that's who you are.
Yes.
As far as moving for change and what we are doing now, we are working on our 2020 vision plan, to look at the census. We are doing the census. We're going to be doing the census. We are the Census Committee at Moving for Change. We're also going to be working in the future on the elections, making sure that people turn out to vote, all of that. The work that has to be done is enormous, but it's something that we have to do. I feel like I've been called to do it along with many others, working to make sure that our community is a better community. And like you say, we're working not just for the African American community, but for all humanity, because that's how we're going to bring our systems of things together and save the institutions that we have that's going to be beneficial to all the people of the world. We got to continue to be the example to the world what freedom and justice and democracy is all about. And so that means that we're going to have to work continuously hard and more effective and efficient now than ever before to make sure that we save what democracy we do have.
Amen. And one last thing about our voices, because you are awesome on air yourself.
Yeah. Well, our voices is to get out information, to feed knowledge to people, to make people understand, to make sure they understand what this democracy is all about, how we can best understand the Constitution, laws, and legislation. So that's the reason that I wanted to make sure we had a voice in making sure that we feed knowledge to people that don't often understand the legislative processes and all of that.
Well, job well done, Jerry. If somebody wants to get in touch and check you out on Our Voices, what do they need to do?
Oh, just go to our website or watch it. Well, you can go to the McIntosh. That's themcintoshprinciple.com, or watch us live on Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else, men, gentlemen?
Well, we got so much, but we know we only got a limited time.
And as a parting shot, well, not a parting shot, but in keeping with what Jerry's talking about with the voting and all of that, they say he who tooteth not his own horn goeth untooted. But I do want to put this little plug in that 50 some odd years ago, I did have the pleasure of marching across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, or trying to make an attempt on what was called Bloody Sunday, and sustain a beating on that bridge. And that is a motivator in itself on election days for us as a people to go to the polls and pull the lever. It's not just enough, and Jerry will tell you this, it's not just enough to register to vote, but that's a part of the process. But the ultimate part is to pull the lever.
I love it a lot. Even on my last show, y'all are still here doing what you do.
And we let me say again, thank you for inviting us to be on your last show, because I would have not been happy to not know you weren't coming back.
I love you both. Y'all keep up the good work. I leave knowing that you are still on the ground doing what Pensacola needs to be done. Thank you both for being here. All right. Well, what we'd like to do now is just remind you that we do have dear friends here in the Pensacola area who are still on the grounds doing everything that matters. And in keeping with that, I want to be I would be remiss if I didn't remember a very dear friend who's no longer with us, who, like these gentlemen, have always stood for what was right in our community, Mr. Elvin McCorvey. We pay homage to the work that he has done in keeping you informed and making a difference in our community. And we leave you now with just a moment of silence in remembrance of Mr. Elvin McCorvey. Thank you for remembering our friend, Mr. Elvin McCorvey. I want to turn now to another friend I met many years ago along my AWARE journey. His story continues to grip my heart and cast a cloud over Marianna, Florida. My interview with Mr. Robert Straley was one of the most difficult in my history as a journalist. I have to take the most blows from viewers who felt that I actually protected the guilty person who perpetrated horrible things onto Mr. Straley. But I talked with Mr. Straley for months as I prepared for his story to hit the AWARE show. It is and was apparent to me that Mr. Straley had been tortured and suffered from the effects of what was done to him at the Dozier School for Boys in Marianna, Florida. He spoke out and up for the men like himself who had been tortured, who had suffered at the hands of their perpetrators, to have been beaten and brutally even raped, even murdered, some of the boys who had supposedly gone on to the reform school. And you know, even as I talk about it right now, it just wrenches my heart, because I always felt like I did the least that I could do, but I did all I could do. And that's very difficult. And it kind of left me with some emotional scars from doing that show. And joining me in the studio now is a man who sat with me and Mr. Straley to tell Straley's story, Andrew Puel. Thank you so much for being here on this, my last AWARE show. And even as I was trying to read that, I wanted to cry, because as a journalist, I just felt like I had done him an injustice. And I'm crying because Mr. Straley isn't with us anymore. He passed.
Yes, he did.
Tell us, where are we now, Andrew? And I'm sorry for the tears, but my heart has always gone out to him.
Well, Mr. Straley was a remarkable guy. He basically donated all his time to working on the White House boys and trying to get justice for them. And he passed away, and he had pancreatic cancer. But you know, he found Jesus before he died.
Yes, he did.
And he was at peace when he died. And he became a wonderful friend to me. Where we're at right now on the Dozier Reform School is, well, the White House building where they beat the boys, it's been turned into a registered historical landmark. So they never can tear it down. They're building two memorials, one in Tallahassee and one at the Boot Hill Cemetery at the Reform School. And two of the White House boys are on that committee, design committee. That's Bryant Middleton and Richard Huntley. They're on that committee, and they were just there yesterday working on that. And so that's one of the things. And another thing that I've heard that I hope is going on is the Florida House and Senate are supposed to be considering bills. I believe it would be a Victim Certification Act. I've heard that before you can do a claims bill, you have to know exactly who is a victim and how many there are. So I hope that passes. I mean, I think it would be the right thing for Florida to do to compensate these men, because so many of them have died in the last 11 years. I don't know how many have died, but you know, we're a bunch of old men basically, and I think Florida should do the right thing and compensate. You know, I broke the law and I had to pay a price. If I had to pay a price, don't you think Florida should have to pay a price if their employees break the law? And so
for sure.
Yes,
for sure.
So that's about where we're
Well,
at.
you all have made strides since we had this story on the Aware Show, the White House boys, in unveiling. Actually, we didn't really unveil it, but we just brought it to Aware and made people aware of what was going on in Mariana, and such bravery, and to just sit here and tell the story. And what made it so difficult for me is, as I mentioned, tried to get it out before I went to tears, is I spent months talking to Robert Straley over the phone. And by the time I got him on the set, I was really worried about the things that he might say, because his story was raw. And if you've seen that interview, you probably thought I was stopping him from saying things and didn't want, and it was true, because I was worried that he would say or do something that would not allow us to air it on PBS.
Yes.
Or that it would not get what it needed in terms of the notoriety that it needed.
Yes.
And I worried about that. And so I was jumping all over the place trying to, no, but it wasn't to stop him from telling his story.
I
It was
understand.
I know you knew.
Yeah.
But I took a lot of hits from that. And I don't care, because now I get a chance to just say, thank you. Thank you for being on the Aware Show. And I wish that Mr. Straley was here so that I could say to him, I'm grateful that y'all have continued the work that you're doing for the men who were victimized at the school, and for yourselves. And I hope, just like you, that that bill gets through, and I hope that you all get everything that is coming to you from what happened to you.
Let me say one more thing, Dee Dee.
Sure.
One of the things I'm most proud of, and I think all the White House boys are most proud of, was a couple years ago, the head of Department of Juvenile Justice said that before a child is incarcerated in the state of Florida, every form of intervention and counseling will be tried before, and that's the legacy of the White House boys. That, and I'm proud of little guys can do something.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, but you got to be persistent.
Absolutely.
And it took 11 years to get to this point, but you can't. Even though you're fighting a giant.
Hey, David beat the giant. The giant fell.
He did. And
Listen, I wish you the best.
thank you. so
And
much.
my prayers are with you.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming to not only bring us up to date, but to represent Mr. Straley.
Yes, I wanted to honor Robert for his work that he did, and thank you for having me on your last show. Thank you for thinking about me.
Thank you. All right. Love you. You take care of yourself, Andrew. Very courageous, very, very courageous. And I've often wanted to thank Andrew and Mr. Straley for being here on the show and telling their stories. And as I mentioned, it was one of the toughest things that I ever had to do, but I appreciate them for their courage and for them speaking up and speaking out. And I just want to remember my dear friend, Robert Straley. We continue to pray for him and all that he's done in terms of his legacy, and we wish him the best. Now, just want to kind of memorialize him too with a moment of silence. Through our years here on Aware, we strive to keep you informed of many issues that could impact you. In fact, my tagline has always been, stay informed and stay aware. Well, we remain dedicated in that mission, and in keeping with our beaches, Pensacola is noted for its sugary white sands and still one of the best kept secrets for you to enjoy. We featured guests years ago to tell you about local laws that could change things as you know it. Well, today we bring you an update with our guests who are joining us in the studio now. We'll let you tell them more about who they are. We'll begin with this familiar face.
My name is Larry Keller. I'm a local attorney in Pensacola. Proud to say I was also the attorney for the group that we're talking about today, Save Pensacola Beach, that grew out of an effort to fight legislation that had been filed in Washington to end public ownership of Santa Rosa Island.
Gotcha.
And to privatize it. And I thank you again for allowing me to speak on that issue. I think a couple months before the November 2018 ballot, we had just got a referendum on the ballot, so that's where we were the last time I talked to you.
And there you go. We're going to catch up on that in just a
Okay.
moment. But we have a face that's joining us who's been at the forefront of all of that. I'll let you introduce yourself as well.
Yes, hi Dee Dee. Thanks for having me on the show. My name is Dianne Krumel. I'm actually the founder and the leader of the movement known as Save Pensacola Beach. We formed a grassroots effort and stopped the privatization of our beloved beaches known as Pensacola Beach.
And you've got the T-shirt to tell us all about
Yeah,
it.
yes, yeah, this is us, the Beach Warriors. You know, we have been called the Yellow Shirts, and attended many meetings and been the voices out there in the community to bring awareness, you know, to the folks out there what's going on with our beaches here in Escambia County.
Okay, very good. Larry, I'll just let you bring us up to date with where we are. Back then, as you mentioned, this was just going to the ballot, and we wanted to have you on the show so that the viewers would know what was coming on and through the pipeline.
Okay. Let me give everybody a real quick, brief history of why we had the referendum, what happened in September of last year, and where we are going forward. For the people that watched the show before, in 1947, the federal government deeded all of Santa Rosa Island to Escambia County, and that means all the way from Pensacola Beach to Navarre Beach. That's actually owned by the citizens of Escambia County. The deed had two restrictions. It could only be used in the public interest, could never be sold or given away. In other words, it was deeded to the citizens of Escambia County forever. Even in light of the restrictions, what happened was local commissioners and the representative at the time, Matt Getz, introduced legislation in Washington. It passed the House. It would have ended public ownership. It would have privatized by giving away. Seriously, that's what the bill did. It gave away land on the island to the people that were renting it and the corporations that were renting the property. Thanks only to a 3-month battle that we fought, say Pensacola Beach, we convinced Senator Bill Nelson to kill the bill in the Senate, or Dianne Krumel and I wouldn't be here today. So after that, we fought for months and months, and we finally got a referendum on the ballot, and that's what I talked about at the earlier show. For the first time in 70 years, the owners of the island actually got a chance to vote. Do we want to keep it publicly owned? Do we want to privatize it? I urged everybody to go out and vote in November, and boy did they. We got over 95,000 votes in favor of the referendum. That was 80% of the vote. None of the candidates got even over 59%. So it was a nonpartisan.
So they
Republican
definitely came for that. I'm just
they
kidding.
came for that. Unfortunately, if people remember, we were the last item on a lengthy ballot, and we were the only item that said non-binding. We had tried to get the county commissioners to make the vote binding. They refused to do that, so then we had our second battle. Dianne can talk about this in more detail, but as the attorney for the group, I was asked to draft an ordinance so that we could have it enforceable, because the vote was not enforceable, even though it was overwhelmingly supported. So we worked for months and months, and like I said, Dianne Krumel can talk about that in more detail. And we eventually, in this last September, we got an ordinance passed, and if I get a chance, I'd like to tell the people what that protects.
Coming back on the ordinance right quick, but coming to you.
Yes, okay. Well, we continue to battle, you know, with that beach ordinance, and we were successful. It was a major victory for the people. The people got behind us, and so we were able to go to the commissioners and tell them that they were elected to do the will of the people, and that the people had spoken, and we wanted the ordinance passed. So we went in there, and we got pushback. But we persisted, we kept going, and we actually won that. So we told the commissioners, please, you know, you're elected to do the will of the people, and if you don't do the will of the people, then we're going to vote you out of office. Okay. That's their job, to do the will of the people. So we're moving forward, as Larry said, you know, doing other things, but there's legislation that we need at the state and the federal levels to protect and preserve our public beaches, regardless of how the public utilizes that beach or realizes it, be it by deed, customary use, or any other means. We need the protections. Right now, we just have the ordinance. It's at the local level, but we want other levels of protection, and that's our goal right now, to do that.
Good deal. Larry, do you want to just add on about the ordinance?
Yes, I do. If you'll bear with me while I read it, it's a fairly lengthy ordinance.
Well, I have
I'm not going to read the whole ordinance. I'm just going to highlight what it
Okay,
protects.
okay.
Okay, the first thing is that it prohibits any new leases on Santa Rosa Island
Okay.
for land that was not leased as of June of 2018 unless there's a unanimous vote by the Board of County Commissioners.
Okay.
Second thing that it did, it specifically reaffirmed the two restrictions in the 1947 deed. Hard for people to find a deed 72 years old, so we put the language in there that quotes only in the public interest, owned by the public forever.
Okay.
A third thing that it did, there's a residential building cap on the island of 4,128 units. That's now capped out. There can be no change to that unless there's a unanimous vote, the Board of County Commissioners and the Santa Rosa Island Authority. All of the conservation, preservation, recreation lands that are set aside on Santa Rosa Island, those can never be changed again unless there's a vote unanimously by the board, by the Island Authority. The last thing is, and I talked about this last time, what happened was we only found out about the legislation at the very last minute, the 11th hour. So we really had to work hard. There were no town halls, there were no public input, there was no notice to the public. So one of the benefits of having an enforceable law is there's a chapter in Florida statutes, chapter 125. What it says is if there's an ordinance or a law passed and the board wants to change, amend in any way, they have to provide 10 days written notice before they can have a meeting about it.
Okay.
If they change the zoning, which deals with the preservation, conservation property on the island, they have to provide 30 days notice.
Okay.
So now the public will be aware of what's going on instead of just learning about it by
Good.
reading what happened in Washington.
That's awesome. And you all are awesome. One last comment and we've got to go.
Yes, I'd just like to say that, our beaches are continually at risk of being privatized. And Governor Rick Scott passed a bill 631 that did away with customary use. And right now in the legislature, they are working and moving forward with a bill to repeal that law. And that's currently going on right now. And I believe that the people that represent our people and the legislators, that they need to have a proven track record in the future when you're voting that they do support keeping our beaches public. It's all about the vote and who's representing the people.
And I can tell y'all are at the forefront of that and also encourage that people's vote, their vote does matter. Thank
It does
you both
matter.
for being here.
Yes,
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank
We
you.
really appreciate it, Dee Dee.
Absolutely. I wish you the best. All right. Well, that's all for right now. And coming up, we want to do some last minute wishing here on The Aware Show before we go to part 2. Through the years, Aware has featured many programs about your health, from women and men's breast cancer to your health and well-being. Well, in keeping with our commitment, we featured healthcare town halls with health experts from NYU's Langone Health. WSRE decided to enter the first Aware program ever into the Telly Awards, and we won a Bronze Award for the show. We share an excerpt of that right now.
People didn't buy the health insurance because they didn't want to pay a penalty. I'm hoping that that's the case, that people bought health insurance because they wanted health insurance. Allison's not as optimistic as I am, but we're going to see in the next year or two what happens.
I think that it's one of the things that unfortunately will further destabilize the health insurance marketplace. I mean, like we discussed earlier, that the way health insurance companies price their premiums, you need to have the healthy people in the pool, so you have the money in there to pay for the sicker people. So without having those healthy people in there, the insurance companies are going to be a little bit cautious of how they're going to price their premiums in the future. So once again, I think that's going to be another way of destabilizing, and that may be a factor of why insurance premiums are going to continue to rise.
To tell us more about this award, we have our producer, Dr. Gail Frazer. Gail?
Hey, Dee Dee.
Congratulations for this.
Thank you, and congratulations to you. And we were very proud of that award. And of course, we had done several health forums, but one in particular was one we did with NYU Langone Medical Center with the host from Sirius XM Radio, Dr. Radio. So they came on the program and we did the health forum parts 1 and parts 2, and then they came back several years again and they did another show for us, which we won that health forum. And of course, one of the shows that meant a great deal to me was the show that we did with the CNN heroes, and we featured Faith Coleman, who has since passed, but that whole program had to do with finding, providing medical care for individuals who did not have the money. So we featured Faith Coleman, who opened up a healthcare facility down in the area of Florida where she lived. And then we also featured a gentleman that was from Wild Kingdom, Mutual of Omaha, and RAM, Remote Area Medical. They used to provide health care for foreign countries, but they were actually doing it in now the United States. So they were featured on 60 Minutes. So they came on and they were part of that show that we did with the CNN heroes and Faith Coleman. So they were part of that. So we've always tried to get the information to the people about health care.
All right, very good. What's next for you?
Well, as you know, as my friends know and folks out there in Pensacola, I retired in May 2018, but we continue to do the show to reach our 30th year goal. Right now, I live 6 months in New York and 6 months in Pensacola. I'm in the process of renovating a beach condo, and as a matter of fact, my good friend and one of my contractors, Eric, is here. Pensacola Home Solutions is doing that for me, and I have the opportunity to produce a show in New York City, so I'm excited about that.
Good for you, Gail. All right, well, as for me, everybody knows I'm working on my book, Aware, A Journalist's Journey to Find Divine Purpose in Dysfunction, and we'll be showing you the cover. And we want you to stick around for the next half of our program. We'll continue down memory lane as we say farewell to our 30-year anniversary here with the Dee Dee Sharp Aware Show. And as I always say, stay informed and aware, but this time I add, stay tuned.